Today we welcome Christian Drapeau, who is a leading stem cell scientist and author who has dedicated over 30 years to understanding stem cells as the body's natural healing system. Now, he's authored over 5 books, including the best-selling Cracking the Stem Cell Code, and has lectured in over 50 countries. Now, he currently serves as the founder and chief scientific officer at STEMREGEN, where he has developed a leading plant-based stem cell supplement. So, Christian, welcome. Lovely to have you here.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Well, Christian, let's jump in, because obviously you've been pioneering stem cells as the body's repair system for many years. So can you share your journey and what led you to this sort of groundbreaking understanding of the space?
Well, I was working, of course I can. I was working in 1995. I was hired by a company in Southern Oregon that was selling a product that you may have heard about, Klamath Lake blue-green algae. And so I was hired to study this product. This was right after the passage of DSHEA, the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act. And companies selling products needed to have science to back up any of the claims that they were making. So I came in very quickly. We were able to document the mechanisms of action, the active compounds behind the benefits of this blue-green algae. But as I'm doing this research, I came across people reversing things like multiple sclerosis, heart disease, diabetes, emphysema, liver failure, Parkinson, Alzheimer's. And at first, they're just stories. But when their number gets to a certain point, it starts to be compelling. And to me, what was the most compelling from a scientific standpoint was not only the extent of those benefits, but the broad variety of them. Like, what is this product doing to help someone's liver, someone else's pancreas, someone else's lung, brain, and so on? So we had no explanation for a number of years until one day I came across an article. The title was Turning Blood into Brain. The first article, to my knowledge, documenting stem cells going from the bone marrow to the brain and becoming a brain cell. We need to go back in 2001 when this article was published, when I came across this article. In 2001, stem cells are only known to be precursors to blood cells. And of all organs of the body, the one that we know for sure does not repair is the brain. So to see a stem cell going from the bone marrow to the brain, I thought it was fascinating. So I went to the local library to see what else I could find. And I found another article documenting the same thing with stem cells going to the liver, and another went to the heart. So I just thought, if stem cells can become brain, liver, and heart cells, why not skin, pancreas, lung, and the rest? It makes no sense. So let's just assume that it's just a matter of time. Scientists will document that they can become everything else. So that means they have to be the repair system of the body. So we published an article in 2001 suggesting stem cells are the repair system of the body. And in the back of my mind, the thought was, what if that plant stimulates stem cell release? Just like we have plant that stimulates and support the immune system, that could be a plant that supports the repair system. So that really was the start of my journey into the whole development of stem cell research.
Great. Well, I mean, obviously, your concept of endogenous stem cell mobilization has really been transformative in regenerative medicine. So could you explain the process and its significance, promoting longevity, which, of course, is our beat, right?
So for most people right now, when we talk about stem cells, it's an injection. You go somewhere, you go in a clinic, and they'll give you an injection. And the main questions are, which kind of stem cells? Umbilical, fat-derived, bone marrow, blood stem cells, hair follicle stem cells, dental pulp stem cells, yours, someone else's stem cells. Do we inject them in the bloodstream? Do we inject them directly in a joint? So these are like the variables. And in this whole discussion, what is never really talked about is that these stem cells oftentimes come from your bone marrow, from your blood, from your fat tissue, meaning they're already in your body. They're not more regenerative because we take them out and put them back in. So the question is, what is their natural role in your body? And is there a way to tap into the role of your stem cells inside of your body? And the answer to these questions is that, well, these stem cells are your repair system. They've been doing, and to me, this is something that is fascinating, which is the fact that every human being on the planet has had an injury in their life. Everybody has had a cut, a broken bone, a bruise, and you witness that your body repairs. Now, what part of your body does the repair? Historically, we would say your immune system, but explain to me which part of the immune system does repair. actually, we never had an understanding in medicine of what makes the body repair, but we've all witnessed it. And now what we discovered is that that's your stem cells. Your stem cells in your body are doing the repair. So endogenous stem cell mobilization is, instead of increasing the number of stem cells in circulation through an injection, we boost the release of your own stem cells, which are endogenous stem cells. Mobilization means their movement. So endogenous stem cell mobilization is the release of your own stem cells. And where it plays into longevity, which is, to me, when you really start to sink into that knowledge, it becomes, to me, almost like the front line of longevity strategy, which is the fact that while stem cells do repair, and by repair, I mean you have a broken bone, a heart attack, a stroke, I mean, any of those have shown that within a few days, the number of stem cells in circulation can increase up to tenfold, and the stem cells are released for the repair. In the background, in the absence of injury, stem cells are still released every day, and they migrate in all organs and tissues of the body. So one thing that stem cell research has revealed is that we experience aging as a slow decline, but it is not how aging is taking place in the body. In the body, every single organ and tissue is constantly, every day, going to a process of tissue turnover. You lose cells every day, and you need to replace them if you want your whole body and organs to work optimally. So you get a new skin every month, a new liver every 2-3 years. Even the heart replaces at roughly 1% a year, which is completely changing our traditional knowledge of heart physiology. So if you have turnover every day, but the reality is to understand that we are born with red marrow that makes stem cells. That red marrow converts quickly into yellow marrow that does not make stem cells. At some point in our 30s, we have lost somewhere around 90% of our red marrow, so which reflects a sharp decline in the number of stem cells in circulation. So there's a point where we don't have enough stem cells to offset this turnover process. So now from that day, you start to develop a deficit somewhere in your body. If the deficit is in your pancreas, we call that diabetes. If the deficit is in your thyroid, it's hypothyroidism. If you lose cells making dopamine in your brain, it's Parkinson. Every single age-related disease is the loss of a type of cell that your stem cells can replace. So I published this view of aging and longevity about 10 years ago, saying that it's all driven by this decline in stem cells. And I suggested in that paper that there's a way to test for this. Let's go and count the number of stem cells in the bloodstream of people who have developed any kind of age-related diseases, and they should have fewer stem cells compared to healthy people of the same age. Now, about 50 studies or so have been published, and you take people with heart disease, atherosclerosis, hypertension, erectile dysfunction, liver failure, diabetes, emphysema, COPD, Parkinson, Alzheimer's, arthritis, lupus, and the list keeps growing, kidney failure, liver failure. All these people have 50% or less than what you find in a healthy person of the same age. So what it means for longevity is simply that understanding that the one common denominator to anybody, any centenarians, is not genetic factors. It's not genetic expression. It's really that they have not developed an age-related disease until a few months before they pass. They keep their health during their entire life. So if you lose your health because of a decline in the number of stem cells, and putting more stem cells in circulation give your body the ability to maintain the health that it has so that you delay the onset of any of those age-related problems, then it's bound to have a significant impact on longevity. We don't know because it's too young of a science, but it's clear to me that it's going to become like the front line of any strategy for longevity.
Well, that's very encouraging, Christian, because of course, many of us in the space are looking at all these different therapeutic approaches, and I guess you're taking us back to basics, right? So in your research, you've explored various medicinal plants that support stem cell function. So, which plants show the promise, and how do they contribute to the regeneration capabilities of the body?
I mean, we could look at the whole spectrum of plants, and it's an in-depth and fascinating discussion. Where my work has been focused on stem cells is after discovering that this blue-green algae indeed was working by triggering the release of stem cells from the bone marrow. We took probably 3-4 years to document the mechanism of action, the active compounds, the proof of concept in animal models of injury, filing the patents, all that work. When all of this was done, the thing that had been in my mind for a number of years is that we evolved in symbiosis with the environment. It's impossible that there's only one plant having an effect on stem cells. So how do you find the other ones? So you just ask the question. I mean, if I were to ask you the question, what plant can you think of that has been associated historically to a broad variety of health benefits? Which one would come to mind?
Well, I would say spinach, but that's just my personal preference.
Are you talking about spinach or longevity spinach?
Well, long stem spinach is one, and pomegranate seeds and blueberries and those types.
So you're exactly going into the line of thought that I had. So we can talk about this one later. If you've never heard of longevity spinach, it's different than spinach. It looks like spinach. You eat it like spinach, but it's a Genura serpent. I forgot the species name, but it's Genura. Longevity spinach. You can buy a stem of it. You can just plant it in the ground. It grows like weed. It has been shown to reduce blood glucose, cognitive function, great benefits. I find it amazing that a spinach has been called longevity spinach. So it might be interesting for you. But that's what we did. We thought of medicinal mushroom, goji berries, berries, and then we started adaptogens, and we started to test a lot of these plants. And we found that, interestingly, they all have an effect on stem cells. The real champions is when we had a chance to go into remote areas of the world, like in Madagascar. They don't have access in Madagascar to Chinese mushroom, goji berries, the Chinese plants that have been studied, but they have plants locally that they have used for centuries for broad variety of benefits. And in Madagascar, they have something like 65 species of aloe, but there is one that they have used for centuries to make a product that locally is called Vahona, and it is aloe macroclada. So I went to Madagascar, collected aloe macroclada, we studied it, and then we found so far one of the strongest response that we have seen on stem cells. So a colleague of mine actually moved to Madagascar, developed the whole system of harvest of that species of aloe because it was not existent before. And then now we collect it and we have developed that ingredient. I had a chance to go on the Tibetan plateau, and on the Tibetan plateau, what has been used, so we're at high altitude in that environment, what has been used for centuries for lung disease, heart disease, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and to boost the recovery from bone fracture, burn to the skin, or injury to the skin is sea buckthorn berry. So I went there, worked with a farmer. We developed an extract from sea buckthorn berry, and that is another ingredient that is triggering a strong release of stem cells from the bone marrow. So the top 5 plants that we have documented over the past 20 years as having the maximum effect on stem cells are this blue-green algae from Klamath Lake, not the strongest, just the first and the one that we have documented the most because that's where we started. But blue-green algae, aloe macroclada, sea buckthorn berry, ficoidan from certain seaweeds, and then notoginseng, extract from notoginseng. So far, these are the most potent plants triggering the release of stem cells from the bone marrow.
Wow. So let's lean into what you're doing with STEMREGEN. Obviously, you're doing a lot of work there in stem cell supplementation, plant-based. So what inspired this development, and really what are the benefits that you can expect in terms of their health and longevity?
Well, the idea behind this came really going back to what I was talking earlier about, like 2001, when I came across this article, and the thought started to sort of form in my mind that stem cells were the repair system, and we had a plant that was putting more stem cells in circulation. So it looked like a great idea, but until you put it to the test and you get the results, it's just an idea. So we made 200 bottles of this blue-green algae extract at the time, and I shipped it to a friend of mine in France, and he was having all the patients that the doctors will tell them, there's nothing we can do for you. We've done everything that we could. And it touched everything. We're talking about spinal myopathy, so neurodegenerative diseases, Parkinson, emphysema, liver failure, heart disease. I mean, we had everything. So, and very quickly, within a matter of, let's say, 2-3 months, the results that came back were absolutely fascinating. Like a 4-year-old girl with spinal myopathy. She had never walked. She had never stood up on its own. And within a matter of weeks, she started to stand up and started to walk. We had cases of severe emphysema, heart disease, diabetes. So when the data came back, the idea in my mind was, my God, we're like putting an end to disease. And then the next 20 years has been shaping the idea, talking about the whole concept. So for me, my work right now in this area is to make the message known that stem cells are literally the repair system of the body. It is the motivation to understand that if you have a cold, you tap into your immune system. Well, if anything that is broken in your body, you want to tap into your repair system. So that has been really the leading path, if you want. But Phil, I lost the original question that you asked me.
Well, I guess, you have answered my question. And I guess I'm very interested to explore, Christian, the fact that obviously, as you mentioned earlier, stem cell therapies are often associated with clinical procedures. Yet obviously you're emphasizing the natural pathways that we can pursue for this. So how can individuals support their body's stem cell function through lifestyle and nutrition? Obviously through the products that you guys produce, but also perhaps there's some lifestyle choices that we should all be embracing as well.
Absolutely. There is no doubt in my mind, and it's really a matter of that information to sink in, and there will be the early adopters who will say, this makes sense, let me go deeper in this. And there'll be those that I still encounter, and I encounter many of them, which is, when I was in college, in medicine, nobody talked about stem cells that way. So this cannot be true. And there will be the later adopters. There is zero doubt in my mind. Fast forward 5, 10, 15 years down the road, everybody will have the understanding, just like if you have a cold, you need to stimulate your immune system. Everybody will understand the moment something is not working right in your body, somewhere fundamentally, your stem cells have not repaired that area. So you want to first tap into your ability to repair. So there's no doubt in my mind that this is where this is going. So with that in mind, what can we do for our stem cells? There is all these plants, so they're all combined in a product called STEMREGEN Release. So this is really what I've been working on for a number of years. But in terms of lifestyle, so you take 2 capsules, you will release about 10 million of your own stem cells. You do this every day for a month. You have released 300 million of your own stem cells. Do this for 3 months. You have released 1 billion of your own stem cells. So now you can start to think about how that compares to, let's say, an injection of 100 million stem cells for which you pay like $20,000. So it started to completely change the paradigm of tapping into the power of your own stem cells. But in terms of lifestyle, right now, hyperbaric chamber will boost the proliferation of stem cells. The outcome of this is that it will put more stem cells in circulation. You do this in combination with STEMREGEN, you boost so it's an amazing synergy. We know that red light, pulse electromagnetic frequencies, we know that it has been used for a long time to help recover from any kind of injuries to joints, surgeries, or just joint pain, joint issues. And now what a lot of the science is saying is that pulse electromagnetic frequencies is working, I would not say entirely, but a strong mechanism of action is that it will attract stem cells to that area. As stem cells go through that area, it boosts their migration capability. When they have migrated into the tissue, it boosts their proliferation. And if you apply pulse electromagnetic frequencies to stem cells, you amplify their ability to become tendon, ligaments, muscle, bones. So it's really regenerative for your joints, pulse electromagnetic frequencies. And one of the main mechanisms of action is that it locally boosts stem cell function. In terms of lifestyle, fasting is probably one of the best tools to boost your stem cells. It will put more of your stem cells in circulation. Interestingly, during the fast, those stem cells seems to be sort of more dormant. They're not as active. But as soon as you resume, I'm talking about a fast of, let's say, three days. That's what the studies have shown, 3 days and more. But the moment you resume eating, then those stem cells now are more active. And if you take samples of stem cells from the bone marrow before and after the fast, your stem cells after the fast behaves as if they were younger. So it seems to rejuvenate stem cells. So when we talk about longevity, calorie restriction and fasting has been associated with longevity for a long time. I mean, for centuries. And one of the mechanisms of action could very well be that it's rejuvenating your pool of repair, if you want, the ability to repair in your body. We know that stress, cortisol, or stress hormones will suppress the ability of stem cells to migrate into tissue, proliferate, and support healing or repair. So we know that stress has been associated, and this is what, at least like 40, if not 60 years now, that there's tons of documentation of the impact of anxiety and stress on a whole slew of age-related diseases. It's almost like any age-related disease has stress as one of its components. And now we realize that stress is going to suppress every day that you're stressed. You've suppressed on that day your ability to repair. And in today's life, I mean, people are exposed to stress every day, sometimes for decades. So I would say stress management is, through the effect of stem cells, a core component also of longevity. So these are probably the main parts of lifestyle that have been so far associated with stem cells. Smoking, drinking will also suppress stem cell function. Intense physical activity will boost the release of stem cells, but I'm kind of hesitant to use that as a strategy for longevity for two reasons. Number one, you do release stem cells when you do intense physical activity, but you've also created microlesion in your body, in tendon, muscle, ligaments, and the stem cells are released to tend to those tissues. So if you have repetitive or repeated microlesions over long periods of time, yes, you have released more stem cells over that periods of time, but it's to repair those tissues. And if you look at a general population of athletes, let's say Olympians, they don't necessarily live longer. And while they have released more stem cells, they have put so much pressure on certain parts of their bodies that oftentimes they actually experience more issues with these joints or these areas of their bodies over time. So while it does release stem cells, I'm not sure that it's associated with longevity.
Well, that's why I love speaking with experts like you, Christian, because I learn something every day, right? And I do think about my personal regimen and likewise, my fatigue and all the things that I put on myself with my busy life as well. So it's lovely to hear what you've been saying. So let's maybe lean into the future, right? So you mentioned already that you see that plant-based stem cell support is going to be something that you're going to see more of. What advancements do you foresee in stem cell research and regenerative medicine that really could further the impact of the work that you're doing and others in the field?
I mean, in the whole wide world of stem cell research, there are many directions right now where a lot of research is put in. So let's say we fast forward down the road. There are things that we can look at and it's unavoidable. Like, for example, umbilical cord stem cells, which are growing right now. There's a reason why they're growing. It has a lot to do with sort of big pharma control or attempt to control and productize stem cells in a way. But when that becomes more and more available, cheaper, and there's a broader understanding of the power of stem cells, we don't have enough babies born to supply what is needed. So somewhere, something else will develop that will become stronger. There's a type of stem cells called Muse cells in the body. They've been identified fairly recently, let's say within the last 10 years. They're not easy to access in the body. They're not easy to culture, but methods to do that now are developing. So, and these will probably emerge as one of the top stem cells to be used in treatment. V cells which are also present in our bone marrow muscles, but we can have them just from the blood. They have extreme regenerative potential. They are present when we do, for example, PRP. So oftentimes, for decades, people have used PRP, and the language around PRP is that these are not stem cells, it's growth factors. Well, it's not true. There is a type of stem cells in PRP. They're very, very small stem cells. They're extremely potent. So that's a path that is going to develop. Another path that is developing that I don't know where it's going to go, honestly, but it's definitely very interesting. And it's taking stem cells from your own body, your fat stem cells, for example, and then we add to these stem cells specific genes. One that is developing right now is the Klotho gene, which is a gene associated with longevity. So you insert that gene, then you proliferate these stem cells into a population, and we inject them in the bloodstream. So these stem cells now go back to the bone marrow, and they start a new strain, if you want, of your own stem cells in your own bone marrow, but it has been genetically modified. So you become sort of genetically modified human beings with genes that compensates for flaws that you may have or for purely just simple longevity. So, and that is an area that is developing right now, and that will grow. No doubt this will grow, but it's still sophisticated treatments that will carry a significant price tag. So to me, what is going to become like the mass approach is what can you do to simply release stem cells every day. You don't have to go somewhere, because releasing, like an injection, you can go for injection if you have diabetes, like whatever disease you have, but it's a one-time treatment for one specific application. But your daily life, like I live in Montana right now. We just got a snowstorm. I need to go and shovel snow. Well, how do I recover fast from shoveling snow? I cannot say I'm going to go to Costa Rica to get an injection of stem cells. So
Right.
what am I doing? I go play tennis. What am I doing to recover from just playing tennis or whatever it is? You need something that is more of a daily boost or a daily practice that is going to boost that repair. And that one is only what we are doing, which is endogenous stem cell mobilization to boost the release of your own stem cells. But it's not benign. So right now, what I mean by this is that right now we have a number of studies. Some we are starting, some are ongoing. So 2 of them are ongoing on chronic stable congestive heart failure and Parkinson. And we're working on a first publication now in the study on congestive heart failure. So far, after 6 months, 10 patients out of 10, starting with chronic stable congestive heart failure, after 6 months, have regained normal heart function. So it's not benign. It's a small impact every day, but the cumulative impact of this release of stem cells every day over time can be fairly significant. So to me, the meaning to the population in general is not necessarily going to be the sophisticated treatment. It's going to be simply to say, if you simply boost the release of your own stem cells every day in a manner that is totally affordable, it's going to have a huge impact on not only health, but in aging with your health, which means an impact on longevity and at the very least, an impact on health span.
Yeah, great. Well, Christian, it's very good to hear that you're taking us back to basics, right? And for our social media followers who like sort of short, punchy answers, are you up for some quick fire questions?
Let's try it.
Okay, so what would you say is the daily habit you believe most is going to boost our stem cell health?
The daily habit: reduce your stress, sleep well, and manage your stress.
Okay, great. And we've talked about this earlier, but is there a particular food or supplement that you would consider a must-have to support your own stem cell function?
Right now, the best that you'll have is STEMREGEN release.
Okay, and over exercise influencing stem cells, how much should we do? I try to do minimum 20 minutes a day, but is that enough, or should we be doing more?
For stem cell release, we're talking about something that is creating micro lesions. So normally this has been studied and shown to boost stem cells like marathon, like an hour session of rowing, like something that is super intense. But if we don't necessarily tap into stem cells and we just talk longevity, 20, 30 minutes a day of anything that makes your heart rate go up and makes you sweat a little bit has been tied to longevity.
Okay. And would you say there are any common misconceptions about stem cell supplements that you'd like to address?
Well, one of them is to understand that for most people, stem cell supplement, and quite frankly, aside from STEMREGEN release, which is all the science that we have is in this product, it may be somewhat accurate, but it's this idea that a supplement, it's kind of a lesser thing. It's like a Me Too product, like a little thing that would like to be able to do something in the area of stem cells, and it's not correct. We're talking about a true stem cell modality that can truly tap into the regenerative power of the body. And when it's done every day, the cumulative impact of this can be really significant.
Great. Well, Christian, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your insights on stem cell science. Obviously, it's great to see that connectivity with longevity coming through as well. So obviously, people would like to find out more. I guess they go to stemregen.co, is that right?
That's correct. This is our website. They can read all the research, all the information, and they can follow me. I address many questions regularly on TikTok, Instagram at Stem Cell Christian.
Great. Christian, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
My pleasure.